Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the replay. If you are here watching us, us on the replay, I am making doubly sure that all of my buttons are checked and we are recording. We are streaming live on Facebook, on the Mission Suite Facebook page. Everything is looking good. I am very proud of myself
Good job.
for not forgetting that this time around. It's happened a couple times, but yeah, so we are stoked to be here. This has been one of our most registered for community table discussions, and it's exciting. I'm seeing some old friends here on the attendee list, and I know that I'm sure we've got more that are going to be kind of jumping in here as we go through. But we got a lot to cover today, so I am just going to kick in here. So first things first, of course, I want to say welcome and thank you for joining us for today's community table discussion, how to use artificial intelligence as the content engine for your business. This has been a big conversation that we've been having. Last month, we talked a lot about, just some ideas on AI and how to use some of the stuff that we have now. But as we kind of dive a little bit deeper into some of the more practical applications and specific how-to applications, I think that this is going to be an exciting few months for us and what we're doing. My name is Ian Campbell. I am the CEO of Mission Suite, and joining me today, as always, is Dean Isaacs. Dean is the founder of Vantage Group, which is a business growth strategy firm. He works with B2B companies, helping them grow predictable, profitable revenue and scale their organizations. And in 2018, Dean launched the Growth Collaborative, which is a group consulting and mastermind program that helps B2B consultants and experts break through their revenue ceiling and generate high-ticket clients month after month. And so that if you got on a one-on-one with Dean and pressed him even just a little bit about some of the new things that he's got going on and coming up in the future, I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but I'm sure he will if you sit down and have a conversation with him. So, but he's got some cool stuff coming up too. So.
You can twist my arm, I'm sure, right?
I was going to say, right, exactly. So as always, I'm excited for today's conversation. I know that we're going to get a lot out of it. Just real quick for housekeeping, if you have questions along the way, definitely speak up. We want to hear from you. We want to answer your questions because we're going to be going through some of this stuff. So if you want us to dive deeper into any of this stuff, let us know. But do us a favor and use the Q&A feature of your Zoom screen and not the chat. So use the Q&A, not the chat, because that helps keep everything all in one place and helps us know what was answered, what wasn't, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, use the Q&A, not the chat for questions. So if you have any along the way, but definitely let us know, because we're going to be talking a lot, and we want to make sure that we're saying the right things. So Dean, excuse me for a second. I just dropped my little fidget tool here. But as we start to look into the future of AI, we had an interesting conversation last month that generated some interesting follow-up emails to me, and some follow-up conversations about ChatGPT and some of the tools that are there. And but now we're going to be talking about very specific use cases for it. So, as we were talking about before, you brought up an interesting point that you had heard, and I'll let you kind of repeat it, but I want to kind of give you an opportunity to just kind of point us in the direction that we're going here.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. So yeah, we've had a lot of conversations about AI and ChatGPT and all these other tools, and I'll say for our audience today, we're going to use ChatGPT as the tool of choice for today, just for our community table. But keep in mind that these types of tools are everywhere. I mean, I found out recently from Ian that there's an AI content generator tool built into Mission Suite, which I didn't know about, which is pretty freaking cool.
Right.
There's AI built into like design tools like Canva. So the AI is everywhere. But ChatGPT run on the OpenAI platform is probably the most well known. So we're going to use that today because it's also free, right? You can hop on to ChatGPT, sign up for an account, and start playing with it as much as you like. So we're going to use that. But the sort of approach and the methodology and the things that we're talking about apply to any of these tools. right? Because
Yeah.
they all do something very similar for the generative AI tools, which is what we're talking about. So generative meaning it will generate or produce a result, an answer for your question. It's not like the AI that runs your Zuma Roomba vacuum, right? And it's learning the configuration of your room and not bumping into things. And it always knows to go back to its charging port. AI drives that. That's different AI. That's AI that's sort of running a program and responding to a thing. This is a more interactive type tool, and it generates a unique result for you. So that's what generative AI is all about. And of course, it can do a lot of stuff. If you're trying to write Python code, ChatGPT can do that for you. If you're trying to figure out how to write a really complex Excel formula, ChatGPT can do that for you. So we can go down any number of rabbit holes, but we decided to focus on one rabbit hole today, which is all about content creation, content generation, specifically marketing content, but it can be used again for just any, almost any concept you want. So just hopefully that sort of frames up the context for today.
Yeah, and I think it's I think it's worth mentioning too that the reason that we kind of dialed in on the marketing content generation is because we all know, everybody knows now that we have to create content to market our business, right? Whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on Facebook, or we're trying to play with a Google algorithm and get on the front page of Google or anything like that, right? Content is the king of marketing right now. And but the problem with that is that so many people content, even if you just need to write up sales brochures, right? I mean, even if you want to completely ignore social media, online stuff and whatnot, you just want to hand over a sales brochure or a marketing folder or whatever, right? That's content, right? That's got to be created somehow. And so, but the problem that both you and I have heard quite a bit is that, well, where do I start? How do I build something like this? What am I supposed to be doing? And we can use, and we kind of touched on this last week, we can use these tools here to turn, I mean, even for me, someone who's been creating content for what, 15, 20 years now, shocking to think about, but someone who's been creating content for a long time, it still takes me a good probably 5-6 hours to create something that's solid enough, and then after that I got to break it all down and do all the other things too. Well, we can use this to shorten that from 5 or 6 hours to like really probably half an hour to an hour, depending on how in depth you want to go with it.
Yeah, and usually the worst or the most difficult part of content creation is you're staring at that blank page and that cursor is flashing. You're like, where do I even start? So you start Googling stuff and look, all of that goes away, right? Yeah. You can get instant inspiration and ideas, and actually more beyond that with a tool like ChatGPT to get you moving, get you going really quickly. So it's a content engine turbocharger for you as much as anything else. So that's why we're focusing on that today. And the comment Ian made earlier, I heard somebody say this morning that they don't believe that AI will replace people, but people that know how to use AI really well will replace people. So do you want to be in the first or the second group there? and so obviously, we're big believers in this tool. I will say also that AI can be, you need to fact check. I'll put it that way. Sometimes AI, ChatGPT and others will say something to you, give you some facts that it reads like, yep, that's exactly right. Sometimes it's not. It gets a little schizophrenic sometimes. It's not perfect, because what it's doing is it's pulling information from the internet. And sometimes when it can't find the exact response to your question, it makes stuff up. It actually does. I've experienced it myself firsthand. So we have to be humans with brains and fact check. And there are some things we can do to ensure that you're putting out the right kind of information. So we'll get into fact checking down the road, but just know that this tool is far from perfect, and it's evolving every day. But it's pretty freaking good for where it's at right now. It really is.
It's funny. It's kind of like a Harvard scholar meets a 3-year-old. You know, where if you stump a Harvard scholar, they'll go to the books. If you stump a 3-year-old, they'll, you know, just say anything. Right?
Whatever comes to
Right.
mind. Yeah.
This makes sense to me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, let's dive in here. Let's talk
All
a little
right.
bit about, you know, we've got this kind of outline that, you know, if you saw the emails or the social post register for this, you saw the outline that we have, that we're going to be talking about, kind of how to use this as the content engine, and how to use AI, how to use the ChatGPT specifically in this case to generate ideas, create an outline, get the first draft written, so on and so forth. So we're just going to kind of go through that list there, that outline that we have. That was actually not generated by AI, ironically, but you know,
We'll be willing to admit, right?
yeah, right, exactly. But yeah, so let's start. Let's kind of, and Dean, I know that you're going to share your screen, so
Yeah, we're
let's
gonna
kinda
hop
jump in.
right in. So I'm gonna share my screen. All right, Ian, can you see my window? Okay. So for anybody that hasn't played around with ChatGPT yet, this is what it looks like. Not that exciting, right? It's just a window. It looks like a Google search bar. But nonetheless, that's where we're at. So everything, so ChatGPT and all these other AI tools have, in essence, consumed the information on the internet. That's what they've done. So are they actually, is the response to your question brand new, unique, and different? Probably not. It's what it's doing is aggregating the information that it has on hand and responding to you based on your prompt or your question. So it is not going to come up with the newest, you know, theory of relativity, because it hasn't been discovered. So it's not on the internet. So it doesn't have access to that information. So it's not going to solve problems like that. It's just going to push back to you information that it has access to in a format based on your request. So if you see at the bottom of this window here, it says send a message. What it's asking there is, what do I need to do? What do you want me to do? Ask me a question, give me a command. And that question is known as a prompt. And so I always say, think about ChatGPT as your intern, right? If you send your intern for coffee, they're going to come back with who knows what type of coffee from where, right? And if you like a particular type of coffee, you got to say to your intern, go to Starbucks, get me a grande latte, blah, blah, blah. And they will come back exactly with that type of coffee you want. But if you say, even worse, go get me a drink, what are you going to get? No idea, no idea. So think about ChatGPT as your intern that never needs to sleep and has access to infinite information. And you can keep asking it more and more questions and it will never get frustrated with you, right? So that's the context for prompts. So, well, with the prompts, I've got some prompts I've written out just so you don't have to watch me type into ChatGPT during the demo today. So we'll just copy and paste some prompts in and you can kind of see how this thing works. So we'll kind of go through the iteration of a sort of a generic prompt to a more specific prompt so you can see the type of results you get. So we're talking business content, we're talking blog posts, content generation today. So if I ask ChatGPT, list 3 article ideas for my blog. Let's see what it says. Okay. So it gives me, and this is live, guys. This is ChatGPT writing live right now. So the benefits of meditation, the rise of plant-based diets, and the importance of self-care for mental health. Well, I'm a business consultant. None of those help me, right? So, all right. So maybe that wasn't the best prompt I should have asked. So we'll start a new chat. And then maybe I'll give it a little more specific prompt. Let's say, list 3 article ideas for my business blog. I've got blog in there twice. Let's see. And your grammar doesn't have to be perfect. It's smart enough to know. So now it's saying, all right, so importance of customer service in building a successful business, 5 strategies for creating social media marketing plan, and navigating the challenges of remote work. Okay, that's better, right? Now, but people that know me know that I do sales and marketing and business strategy work. So let's give it a little more specific prompt that it can use, that I might actually be able to use that information. So now we've got a prompt, list 3 trending 2023 small business marketing ideas I can use in my blog. Keep in mind that my readers are business owners, right, of B2B professional services firms looking for lead generation ideas and include one topic related to using generative AI in marketing. So that's me sending my intern to get a grande latte with this, that, and the other thing, exactly how I like it, right? Let's see what it says.
And while it's generating here, I see Richard's got his hand raised. If you have a question, do me a favor and just drop it into the Q&A box in the Zoom screen there.
So here's what we got this time around. Video marketing topic, personalized email marketing topic, and using generative AI in marketing. Now we're talking, right? Much more on topic, usable ideas. So all we're doing right now is just idea generating. That's all it is. We can certainly ask, and I love the way it says, I hope these ideas help you create some engaging blog posts. No. You're going to help me create some engaging blog posts. So let's say we like, I don't know, well, AI. We've got to use that one, right, Ian? So we can dig in and we can say, okay, so we like the concept. Let's have it create an outline for a blog post. Okay, so that's the next step in the process. Is we like the topics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy number 3, and I'm just going to save it over into my Word document off screen here, just so I have access to it in a minute. Okay, so we're pretty happy with the topic. We think we're heading in the right direction. Now we want it to write, in our case, a blog post outline. Mm-hmm. But if I posted a blog post or I sent an email out to my list and it didn't sound like me, that would be weird, right? My readers would be like, that doesn't sound like Dean's normal style. What's up? I'm going to disconnect with my audience. And so one thing you can do with these AI tools and ChatGPT in particular is you can teach it. You can teach it your particular style. And there's a number of ways you can do that. Let's say you do video marketing and you've got your YouTube videos or your Instagram live videos, and you grab the transcript in text of your whatever you're talking about. You can drop that into ChatGPT and have it learn your style. You can do the same with blog posts or emails that you write, anything that's your style. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to teach it my style before we actually have it write the outline for the blog post. So here's what we'll do.
Dean, I think it's worth noting too that we're starting with a blog post because, specifically in marketing, the blog post can kind of be the start of everything, right? I mean, from a blog post, it goes on your website to get the Google juice. It can be broken down into video script. It can be broken down into social posts. I mean, but starting with that long form blog content gives you that starting point that you can do anything else with.
Absolutely. Yeah. So pleased you brought that. Yeah. That's kind of what I call foundational content, right? Once you get that 500, 1500 word article written, you can use it in so many ways, as Ian just described. So that's exactly why we're starting there. That's that big chunk of good content that you can utilize. Yeah. So I started a new chat. Please learn my writing style from the following content. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to hop over into my blog on my website, and I'm going to grab a couple of blog posts. Because obviously I wrote them, it's in my style. We'll copy that. We'll paste that in there. And we'll grab another one just so it has some content to work from. Okay. So that's 2 blog posts. That's probably enough for it to learn my style. So here's what it says. And this is always interesting, right? If we're doing this live, we'll see what ChatGPT says. So based on the provided content, your writing style is informative and straightforward. You focus on providing actionable advice. You guys can read this. In terms of tone, your writing style is professional and confident. You don't shy away from making assertions. Okay. Overall, your writing style is effective in conveying complex ideas. Blah, blah. Okay, well, that's pretty good. As a writer, I'm happy with that. It could be worse, right? So now it's sort of learned my style. What I would recommend you do is copy this paragraph or these couple of paragraphs and save them somewhere. Because then in the future, you can say, write a XYZ using this style, right? Because as soon as I start a new chat, it's forgotten this. As soon as you start a new session of ChatGPT, it's forgotten this. So you can go through the process of retraining it, or you can just write down this blurb. Okay. So it knows my style. Okay. And then we decided we like this using AI as our topic. So I'm gonna copy that. We'll go back to the session where it knows my style, and I'll paste the topic in there. I'm going to tell it this is topic. And then I have a little prompt for it here. Okay. So now my prompt is, all right, now using this topic, the topic above, write a 500-word blog post for my small business owner, for small business owners in my writing style. I need that. So it knows what I want it to do, right? Write me this blog post using this particular style, and we'll see what it comes up with.
And Les, I see your question
Yeah.
here, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. We're going to start off by so that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, great minds think alike, Les.
Yeah.
So we got it to learn my style. I gave it the topic, and I said, now write a blog post using my style. And here's what it did. So if you're a small business owner, blah, 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 I'm not going to read the whole thing. Pretty good. Let's assume that looks good. We like the way that's sounding. It's fairly conversational. There's a conclusion at the end. We can do a lot of things with that from here. So let's say we like it, but it's a little bit stiff, right? It's not, we want to kind of loosen it up a little bit. So we can ask it to, well, re-prompt it and say something like, now rewrite, including a headline, because we didn't have a headline in there, and 3 bullet points that highlight key insights about the topic, and use a more conversational language so it's more engaging, right? Let's say, for example, you're a fan of Jerry Seinfeld's humor. You could literally say to it and use some Jerry Seinfeld style humor, and it will do that. I'm not going to do that, but you certainly can. I've done some weird stuff like do it right in style of Yoda, and it sounds just like Yoda. It cracks me up. All right. So nonetheless, so now we've got a headline. How small businesses can use generative AI to save time and produce high quality content. Here are the 3 bullet points. And then a little couple of sort of body paragraphs, a little more conversational. So if you're a small business owner looking to save time and money, it's more conversational, more engaging, right? So it did exactly what I wanted it to do. It created the initial outline, and then I prompted it to adjust. Now what we could do is I could say, now take this content and create 3 2-minute video scripts.
So, quick question before this. So, as far as refining this is concerned, right? So, are we at that point? Are we going to come back to kind of the refinement aspect of it, or?
No, yeah, I was off on a rabbit trail myself there.
Okay.
Yeah, we can actually do that. Yeah, so we will hold on my prompts and come back to that in a bit. Yeah, we can continue to refine it. I see Dean Miller in the Q&A. If 2 blogs teach your style, would 3 or 4 be better? Absolutely, absolutely. The more the better in terms of teaching. Keep in mind that this thing has consumed the internet,
Right?
And you can build a prompt as long as I think it's 25,000 characters. So you can give it a lot of stuff, Now, if you did a 30-minute YouTube video and you grab the transcript to that's going to be more than 25,000 characters. Mm-hmm. So you might have to limit it, but yeah, and you could prompt it over and over. You could say, right, based on that, now, learn an addition to this and just keep building. There is some diminishing returns there, right? It's smart enough to learn pretty quickly, but yeah, absolutely.
So, because we also want to make sure that we touch on some of the challenges about this, and that specifically when it comes to like Google seeing that a blog post has been written by AI and things like that, right? That's just
Yeah.
to get to kind of dive into that into the refinement aspect of it, because you
Okay.
need it to sound like you, and you need it to be from you, not from just straight from AI, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. There are certain patterns and styles that this AI will write in, and you can kind of detect it. And as humans, we can detect it to some degree, but Google in particular, if you're using blog posts, a blog post is like an additional website web page on your website, right? Every time you add a blog post, it's a new web page. So Google's going to scrape that and index that. If it determines that the content on that page, and it can be any page on your website, is written by AI, it's actually going to penalize you in terms of SEO. It's going to have a negative SEO effect on your website if it determines it's written by AI. So if you train it and you iterate the content, it's going to be less AI-like. It's going to be more you. But there are some tools that you can use to do some sort of AI detection checking. I have a couple of tabs open here. I'll show you. So this first one is content@scale.ai, and it's their AI detection tool. So just for grins, let's just see how this works. I'm going to grab this post right out here. We'll drop it into this tool, and we will hit check for AI content. And it's going to do this evaluation. So over on the left, how robotic is your content? Likely both AI and human. So that's pretty good, right? It's pretty good. It's predicted that it's 58% predictability, 52% probability, and there's 100% pattern, whatever that means, right? This is what I care about. It's thinking, yeah, it's probably AI generated with human interaction of some kind. So what's a good score and a bad score? The lower the score, the better.
And I'm seeing on the right, it's got those little sections there that it's highlighting is problematic, right?
Exactly. So if I highlight over them, so this is highly likely generated by AI. It's unclear. And then possibly generated with AI. So this is like your Grammarly, right? If anybody's used Grammarly to like improve your writing style, it changes and gives you suggestions. That's what it's doing. So I would go back in myself and I would reword some, especially these red, pink areas, because it's pretty sure that AI wrote that. So that's one tool, and we'll share these links in the chat. And there are a couple of other tools I've used. I've used this writer.com/AI content detector. It does the same kind of thing. And then this is actually a tool built by OpenAI, which is the AI engine that runs ChatGPT, and it does the same thing. Let's paste it in here, see what it says. So it will give you sense of, is this human written, AI generated, or misclassified? We'll run it. So it says classified, considered the text is possibly AI generated. So we've got two saying the same kind of thing. So obviously we would need to do some work on this. Looks like Joseph put a question in the chat, Ian.
Yeah, there's a couple here. So asking asking ChatGPT to draw a cartoon based on a description. You can actually use the OpenAI's other tool called DALL-E for that. And if you just look up, it's DALL-E, you'll be able to find it. But that'll draw up a cartoon. Dean and I were actually playing around with that yesterday, though, and don't ask it to put any words into an image, because apparently it can't even spell anything
in English, right?
Yeah, right, exactly, or any language for that matter.
Yeah, it made up some random language.
Yeah. And then Joseph saying, way late to this tech game. Is it still possible to sign up for the ChatGPT service? I'm assuming the free, he's asking about the free version of the ChatGPT service, or do you have to go with one of their paid options? And I think you can still sign up for the free one, right?
Yeah, it's still available.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't put a limit on it.
Yeah, so so that one's still free. The difference with the paid one is that you get access to the 4.0 and not 3.5. 3.5 is where is the free version. The paid version gives you access to 4.0. And I heard the other day that apparently 3.5 had like a 10% shot at passing the California State bar exam. 4.0 had like a 90% chance of
Yeah.
passing the bar exam.
That's
So,
pretty cool.
it may be, if you're using this for goods, for real stuff, it may be worth spending the $20 a month to get on board with it. Which answers less question about the paid version. Is about 20, is still $20 a month. Yeah.
Yeah, $20. And I have the paid, and it gives you ChatGPT 4 and
Yeah.
For Chat 3.5 is faster, so I'm using that today because it's spitting out results more quickly. But 4 gives you a deeper reasoning and a little more sort of contextual responses. But
Right.
3.5 is still really good. I mean, for a free tool, it's amazing.
Yeah. So, and then Dean Miller has a deep question here. I generally write a blog in text, then format it into Divi blocks, highlighting with adding photos, so on and so forth. If I took text from AI and then do the formatting, will that convince Google that it is not AI? And from my understanding, Google is only looking at the text, not the formatting, really. I mean, it looks at like headings and whatnot, just for kind of for directions, but they're just looking at the content of the text, not the way that it's styled, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So what I would recommend, because you can copy right out of ChatGPT. If you paste it into a Divi text block, it'd be a mess.
Right.
So I would recommend paste it into a text note or a Word doc, clean it up, edit it, change it around, break it up, and then put that into your Divi text blocks in your website. Yeah. And then looks like Les, could I repeat the links? I just dropped them in the chat, in the Zoom chat. So everybody should be able to see those, I believe.
And then I added the link to DALL-E as well, so you can see that.
Yep.
And then George is asking, how does ChatGPT compare to Bard from Google?
Similar but different. So Bard is much earlier. It's sort of still in beta. ChatGPT, I think, has already sort of consumed more of the internet and is a little more proven. I haven't played a lot with Bard. I did get access to the beta tool. Bard is really gonna, here's the interesting thing. Something like ChatGPT could cannibalize Google's search business, right? Because it wants you to search in Google, find websites that have paid them to display to you. And so Bard is their version of AI that allows you to sort of search the internet, get responses without cannibalizing sort of the search function within Google. I haven't played around with it to be able to give you like the side-by-side sort of comparison. Ian, have you played enough with Bard to be able to do that?
No, I haven't played around with it at all.
It looks pretty similar.
Yeah. Yeah. And Les, I just dropped them into to the link again, going to everyone. Apparently, we were set to be just on hosts and panelists. So if you still can't see it, let us know.
Yep.
But awesome. So cool. So that's all the questions for the moment. So where do we left off at refinement, right? So refinement from an AI detected from AI detected to be more focused on human writing, right?
Yeah. So I would definitely suggest using one or more of the AI detection tools, first of all. I think you just sit back and you read it. Right? Does it sound like you? Does it fit what you need? Is it fact check it? Right? Like I said, sometimes it just makes stuff up. So always check the facts, because there's also a lot of garbage on the internet too, right? So either it's making stuff up or it's finding bad information. So just quality check the content, because at the end of the day, people are going to read it like you wrote it. Mm-hmm. So sort of take some ownership. That I did a LinkedIn post the other day, and I said something like, AI is going to make bad marketers worse and good marketers great, because bad marketers tend to be lazy. So you go through 2 or 3 of these steps, you create this thing and you post it without even really caring. That's not going to work for you. It's not going to be good. So definitely spend the time going through and reading the content and proofing it and doing all the things you'd normally do. If your intern wrote you a post, what would you do? You would check it. You would go back.
I guess that depends on how lazy you are. Right.
So, right? I guess if you cared enough, you would check it, right? You would say, well, tweak it this way, or can you add that, or can you, there's no limit. There's no limit to what you can ask this thing to do. So the more creative you are, the better response you'll get. Okay. Yeah. Anything else on that stuff, Ian?
I don't think so. I think that's an important. Well, you know what? So here's a question for you. So if we created, like, if we asked it to create an outline and before we had it create the blog post itself, because I mean, obviously with this, you can skip over the outline part, right? Which is kind of a nice thing. But if we asked it to create an outline first and then kind of customize the outline and got really specific with the outline, do you think that would actually lead to a less kind of AI-esque result in the article?
I think so. Yeah, I do. I think that the more you iterate on the prompts,
right,
and the more unique the prompts are, the less it sounds like the other 4 million articles it wrote today. So I will say sometimes make it more humorous, or use these types of words or phrases, or emphasize that thing, or weave in this concept, and it just does it.
Right.
So really the emphasis is on you to be creative and to be specific and just keep going.
Right.
Just keep asking it. If you haven't reprompted it 4 or 5 times, you probably haven't got the best product yet.
Which actually kind of leads me to an interesting point about to George's question here. He was asking, with what ChatGPT produces, how can you be sure that the material is not copywritten? So there's 2 things about that, actually. So first of all, right now, the way that it stands, anything created strictly by AI cannot be copywritten, right? I mean, and at least that's where the law currently stands, based on what I've been hearing and reading about, in at least in the music industry and whatnot, which has ridiculous copyright laws. So I mean, if they're at that point, then I can't imagine anything else would be anything different. But then beyond that, you can, I mean, if I remember, and I'm not a lawyer, right? I'm going off of the things that I used to get yelled at by lawyers when they would tell me, you have to rewrite this because it's too close to whatever, right? But if you have it 33% different from anything that's out there on the internet, then you're in there, 33.1 or whatever, you're in the clear, right? But whatever that number is, you can, I'm assuming anyway, you could say to ChatGPT, now make sure that this does not match anything else on the internet that's currently on blog articles or anything like that, right?
Yeah, I think so. If you said, write something based on the story brand, the book Story Brand, and it's using that vernacular and language, obviously that's his stuff, right? Now, if you give that person or that source credit, okay, you're not stealing, right? But it's just like any other research that you do, right? Whether you're doing the research and Googling stuff or you're having ChatGPT do it, you got to be careful, right?
Yeah.
But most, so much of the stuff that's out there, and again, I'm not a lawyer either, is sort of a public domain, right? You put it out there and it's just out there. And how many truly unique ideas are there about any given topic? So you can usually take it and run with it. Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, because I mean, you mentioned something earlier about kind of things happening the same thing over and over again, and I'm sure most people have heard the quote, "There's nothing new under the sun," right? And that's from the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible. So if that concept is that old, irrespective of your thoughts on anything religion-wise, if that idea is that old, there is truly nothing new under the sun.
No, for sure. Yeah. So as I said at the beginning, what it's doing is it's aggregating information based on your request, information it has access to on the internet. It's not creating new formulas for any theory here, right? It's just aggregating what's out there. So you can skew it towards particular approaches. You can say, if you guys know Gary Vee, he has a very particular style. You could say, write this thing in the style of Gary V. That's what you're going to get. It's not his stuff, but it's going to sound like him.
Yeah.
So you just got to be aware of the content that you produce, and you know, how much can you really sort of own that message.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that brings up an interesting point too, because there are a lot of people that are talking about the fact that if you say write this in the style of Gary V, it's referencing Gary V's body of work.
Yep.
You know, that copywritten body of work. So should he be getting some sort of copyright or anything like that? And that's, I mean, that's an open debate right now, right?
There's a likelihood that it's going to capture some verbatim things that he says.
Right.
So you're going to open yourself up potentially to copying somebody else's work.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that.
Exactly.
Russell Dennis, are you limited to the number of open AI accounts you can have? Only by the limited number of email addresses you have. It doesn't care. I've got a couple of different accounts with them with 2 different email addresses. So no, I don't think it matters.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, let's kind of push forward here. Excuse me, to the next step here, and that's kind of we've talked about optimizing the draft for an audience, and now, right, and so now we're kind of focusing in on getting content ready to publish and actually breaking it down into a variety of things.
Yeah. So we'll take that in a couple of steps. So getting it ready to publish. So what we've got on screen is we had the initial blog outline written in my style. We re-prompted it to rewrite it with a headline and some bullet points, make it more conversational, and it did that. So you could continue to iterate and ask it to do other things to really prep it. You've gone through your AI checkers and your Grammarly and you feel pretty good about it. Let's say you've got a great blog post and that's your foundational piece of content you want to now use across other channels, right? Let's make that assumption of where we're at in the process. So let's take this particular post and we say, cool, we're in good shape. So now this is where you get to go crazy. You get to go wild, right? Like if you think about your content calendar, you've got some, I don't know, you got a Facebook post you want to do, you got a LinkedIn carousel you want to build, you've got 2 or 3 tweets you want to prep, you've got a short article you want to include on your email newsletter, all based on this topic. So one thing I will do is I'll take a pause here and just remind people don't remember your stuff when you send it out once. They don't. If you expect your greatest LinkedIn post ever to have impact on your 3,000 followers on LinkedIn, yeah, it's probably not the case. You got to say and do things over and over and over again, especially on social media, because the lifespan of a post is minutes. It just pushes down and people don't see it. So you could use this blog post and create a series of LinkedIn posts or any social media posts that can feed your content calendar for a week. You just got to ask it to do so. Maybe you want to do some short videos for LinkedIn Lives or for YouTube Shorts or whatever. That was the prompt I was messing around with before we went down the other rabbit hole, which was this. Now use the blog post to write 3 60-second video scripts from that following content. Each script should have a hook. So it's that, how do you get people's attention at the beginning of the video, right? So you get your viewers' attention and a call to action at the end, right? So let's see how it does. So it's working on script 1. The point here is it doesn't matter what type of content you want to produce, just ask it to use that foundational piece of content to reproduce. So now we've got 3 new video scripts. The hook: are you a small business owner struggling to create high quality content that resonates with your target audience? And then boom, did you know? Here's our call to action. Using generative AI, do this stuff. That's video 1. Video script 2. Are you tired of spending countless hours creating new and unique content for your small business? Yes. All right.
Always.
Well, we've got a tool. Oh yeah. And then video script number 3. So again, it did exactly what I asked it to do. 3 scripts, 60 seconds with a hook and a call to action at the end.
So You've mentioned before, in fact, I think you talked about this last month, and I know you talked about it yesterday when we were talking that you can use this to create a Sales Navigator profile.
Yeah.
If you were to take, so now we have 3 video scripts, right? And they're short video scripts. But if you were to take that basically kind of copy that profile and say, now rewrite these scripts, the hooks, scripts, and call to action with this profile in mind, how much more effective, I mean, like, how much deeper do you think that would go?
It would definitely refine it even more. Let me see if I've got on one of my old. So this is what Ian was talking about. I hear this is truly live, unscripted, showing you behind the curtain, right? So what Ian was referring to is I wanted to take some LinkedIn profiles of people that fit my ideal client profile or an ideal client profile, and have ChatGPT find the commonalities and uniquenesses, and then create a LinkedIn Sales Navigator search, so I could find more of people that look like that profile, right? So here was my initial prompt, and I won't read it all, but it's basically saying, take these 3 LinkedIn profiles, compare them, find commonalities, and create this LinkedIn Sales Navigator search. So I dropped the text from these profiles in, all this fun stuff. And then it said, sure, I can help do this. And here it is. It created all of the search filters for a targeted LinkedIn Sales Navigator search. Titles, locations, industry, company headcount, years of experience, keywords in the profiles, all that fun stuff. So let's just say, I don't know if this is going to work or not. We'll totally wing it here. So we'll go back to the thing. So we'll say, now rewrite the script for the following profiles.
So you've got how to rewrite the script.
Oh, sorry.
Which could be a different.
Yeah, it would absolutely be different. All right, so let's see if this works. There may be some information here that we can probably get rid of that.
Yeah, like the groups.
We don't need that. Keywords would be pretty good. Experience, company headcount, smaller companies, location. Yeah. All right, let's see. Let's see if it does it. Okay, so it's rewriting it. Let's see how different it is. Okay, so as a CEO, owner of a small business or a medium-sized business. All right, so it's already adapted it based on the role, right? Did you know you can do this stuff by analyzing data, call to action as a leader in your industry? It's important to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
So it took it. And then the second was as a consultant, because consultants were one of the profiles I was targeting in that search. So yeah, it absolutely refined it. And then as a director, vice president, owner, now that sounds a bit like AI. Right? I probably wouldn't say that. You probably wouldn't say that. But nonetheless, right? Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Absolutely. That's Eric here echoed that. Just holy crap! Not a question. Just wow.
Yeah, that's pretty much my reaction most days I play with this, Eric.
Yeah. And Les is asking here about the difference in the quality of content, like video scripts specifically generated by the 3.5 versus the 4.
I mean, it's hard to how you would quantify the difference in quality. Really, if I open up a new chat. So here's how ChatGPT describes 3.5, right? Optimized for speed, current available to plus you. So it's all about giving you responses quickly, right? But the score around reasoning and consciousness is pretty low. The ChatGPT 4, it's going to give you more contextual-based responses. It's going to be slower. The other thing about GPT-4 is it's consumed more of the internet. So if GPT-3 is consumed this amount of the internet, 4 is consumed like this amount, exponentially more. So it has access to more information. And the AI engine is a little more logical, I would say. I think I get cleaner, better responses from 4. So my default is to use 4. But 3 is going to get you 80% of the way there every time.
What's the, like, how much slower does it feel? Chat GPT-4, does it feel significantly slower? Or?
Well, let's do this. We'll grab my blog prompt from the beginning of the session here, which was my more detailed prompt.
Right.
You can kind of see it is visibly slower. Maybe it's 50% slower. It's not going to take you an hour,
Right.
but maybe it will take you 30 seconds instead of 10, right?
Yep.
And we're impatient, right? We want it
Yeah.
now.
Exactly.
But you can see just sort of comparatively speed-wise.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not like it's not like the old Napster when, over dial-up, when you would, queue up a bunch of songs at 10 o'clock and then go to bed. And, when you wake up at 8, the last one's going to be updating.
Yeah. Go away, make dinner and come back. And it's still like
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I mean, that was not painfully slow at all.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Which is why I tend to use 4. But for those that just want to play around with it, start with, I mean, $20 a month, you decide, but I used 3.5 for a while. The reason I initially actually paid for the 4 was this was when GPT was having a lot of downtime and you couldn't even get on. Right. And as a paid subscriber, you get priority to get on the system. So I wanted to get on and play with it. So I paid the $20 and now I'm using 4 as well. So
right. So Les is asking how to upgrade to the paid version. Is there anything specific that you do, or is it just go to your account kind of a deal?
Yeah, down here on the bottom. Obviously, mine says my plan, but I think in the free one, it's like your profile or your settings. You can just go in there and pay for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
They will willingly take your money. I have no doubt.
That's true. I mean, they took what was it, 10 billion from Microsoft, something like that. So yeah. They're pulling it in, that's for sure.
They certainly are.
So are there any other prompts that we should to look at before we wrap up here? I feel like this has like been a ton of information in a relatively short time.
Yeah. So, here's how I would approach this is when you open up ChatGPT, have a purpose. Know what you're trying to do. Am I just playing around with the tool? Go wild. But if you've got something you're trying to get done, go in with an intention. Is it like a blog post as a foundational piece of content? I was telling Ian folks that I'm launching a new mastermind, and I've been for a few weeks just taking random notes, just brainstorming, sending myself emails, and I had stuff everywhere. So I went into ChatGPT and I said, can you write me a sales landing page based on all of this stuff? And I just dumped it all in there. And it wrote me a really pretty good sales page. And it was in my language because it was all my notes. Mm-hmm. So I knew I wanted to consolidate all of my brainstorming into a concise chunk of information that was going to be used for a sales landing page. And of course, I could use that content for other things too. So I knew exactly what I wanted to do versus going in and saying, I don't know, write me some copy for a new mastermind I'm doing. It doesn't know what coffee to go buy you. Mm-hmm. So be really clear on what you're trying to produce. Use it for other things that are non-content related, like an Excel formula or writing some Python code. It will do all of that stuff. It can write you a job description. It can write you an SOP. It's like if it's on the internet, it can utilize that information. So it can be completely overwhelming if you don't go into it knowing what you're trying to produce. Mm-hmm. And just then practice with the prompts. Remember, you tell it what you want, what your expectations are, who it's for. The more information you give that intern, the better response they'll give back to you.
Right. I think, one of the things that strikes me too is that I've hired a lot of copywriters over my career. I'm sure, as have you, right? And every time you work with a new copywriter, you have to go through an iterative process where before they finally figure out what you want, right? Yep. Like that, you like to use, you like to use with whom instead of, whatever, like that, those types of little nuances that you like, and you have to go through that process. But the challenge with working with a new copywriter is that they have to go back, rewrite everything, and then come back and do this, right? And so, but with this, you're able to shorten that learning curve because the rewrite's happening immediately, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, but it's important to remember that every time that you do this, you're starting with a new copywriter. Because like you said before, every time you go into a new chat, it's starting from scratch again, right? It's just getting to know you again.
Yeah.
And because I'm imagining that there's going to be a lot of people who will go into this and get really frustrated with the fact that, you know, this thing, it keeps spitting out stuff. Like every time I ask it to do something, keeps spitting out stuff that's no better than I could do or that I would do, right? Or that, you know, like a 20-year-old intern would do. And, you know, that's okay. It's still happening. It's still happening at what, you know, 900 times the speed of whatever. I mean, I haven't checked those numbers, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely important to remember.
It totally is. So I would say, again, it's that, how can you train it quickly for your style? And if you have a body of copy that you used, so maybe some blog posts or whatever it is of your stuff that you found worked in terms of training it, have that in a document somewhere. So you, when you start a new chat session, retrain it immediately with that copy. So immediately it knows, and then you can get into it creating content. Yeah, even though it's a bit of a repetitive process, it's very, very quick. Yeah,
exactly. And, you know, I mean, it's like have the patience that you would have with a new copywriter, right?
Yeah. So, yeah. The other thing I've done is I created a spreadsheet, a Google Sheet, and I've saved all of my prompts in there. So I've got the prompt, what I was trying to get it to do, and some notes. So that every time I want to go and create a new Sales Navigator search, I haven't got to go back through all of my old searches here and try and find it. I've got a list of prompts.
Yeah.
And then that allows me to iterate and build on those prompts too. So that's another kind of a little pro tip, is just keep track of that stuff somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having that kind of a thing can be huge. So Dennis,
people are selling prompts now. There's this
really?
Yeah, they've created these services where they'll write prompts for you. So that tells you how important they are. Sorry,
but you still have to prompt them to do it.
Prompt, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. I don't know, but so Dennis is asking if we can recommend a good AI for Dummies type of introductory primer or video, because it's coming up more in conversation with prospects and clients and would typically benefit from some type of 101 intro. This, right?
Yeah, come back to this.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
There's lots of resources, right? YouTube is full of them right now. Some are better than others. So if you're looking for a particular guidance, maybe it's because you're in sales, you're a fractional VP of sales, Dennis. So if you want to know how people are using like ChatGPT for sales in particular, Google it, jump on YouTube and look it up, right? That's probably the easiest place. It's so new. There are some books out there, but you know, they were written a few months ago and they're already old. Right?
Yeah, right.
So current new YouTube content, people that have got lots of followers, lots of content, you can tell they're of quality. I would say do that. That's probably as good a place as any. I don't know what you think, Ian.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's true. Just, you know, to Dean's point, be careful about what you're consuming, right? Because some people just don't know what they're talking about. And, you know, if you do want to share these, like we did one last month, we did this month, and we're doing, in fact, we were talking about focusing in on sales and like helping with sales process as a thing for next month. If you want to point, you can go to YouTube. These are all up on Mission Suite's YouTube page. Dean, I know you can point them to Dean's Instagram and Facebook, and I don't know, is it going up on do you have it on YouTube too? Or
yeah, I have on my YouTube, and I repost some stuff on LinkedIn, so it's available.
Yeah, so you can point them to either one of our pages, and yeah, and go from there too, because that'll definitely get you to the place where you with the content that you're seeing here, right? So if it's good. So our YouTube links, Dean, you want to drop your YouTube link into the chat and I'll do mine?
I certainly will.
Wait, what is mine? I used to know it like the back of my hand. Yeah, right. Okay.
That is.
That's right. Excuse me. So yeah, so both of them are up in the chat. Both of our links there, so you can go check it out. You can find Dean and me both on LinkedIn as well. And both of our companies have LinkedIn pages, so all the things, right? So yeah, everything that we have. Oh, Dean, you just went to host some panelists, so I'm gonna push it out to everyone. There we go. So both there's 2 YouTube links, the Mission Suite page and Dean's playlist are both in the chat now, coming from me. So take a look at those. Then you'll be able to see those, because we do. That's the whole reason that we're doing these. And not to do a shameless plug, but invite them to these things, right? When you get the emails that we're doing these, send them off an email and say, hey, go check this out, register. If people miss it, then they'll get a link to the YouTube link to the YouTube video the next day. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yep.
So awesome. Well,
reach out. I would say the other thing, just reach out directly too.
Yeah, right.
So you can find us.
Yep, absolutely. So awesome.
All
Well,
right.
we are at the 30 of the hour, the half past the hour here, 2:30. So so thank you all so much for being here. Dean, thank you. This was very this was a fun conversation. I liked it. It was very cool. And so yeah, let us know if there's anything else, and keep an eye out for next month's topic as well, an announcement, because it's going to be it'll be just as engaging, I'm sure. So with that, thank you very much, everybody, and we will talk to you next month. Cheers all.